Hello everyone, welcome back to the ServiceNow Secrets Unlocked series. In episode 1, we cracked the mystery of the society, and today in episode 2, we are diving into one of the simplest but most misunderstood features in ServiceNow, UI policies. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how UI policies behave, when they fail, where they work, where they don't, and all the hidden tricks that even experienced developers sometimes miss. Let's jump in. Under all, you can type UI policies, and under system UI you can open the UI policies. You can see the list of UI policies existing. For example, if you want to see what all the UI policies already present for incident, you can search with the table incident. You will see all these UI policies which is there. So let's open one so that we can explain most of the aspects of UI policies. But even before that, what is UI policy and what they do? So the answer is UI policies are basically rules that control how fields look and behave on a form. They can make fields mandatory, make fields read-only, show or hide the fields. All of this happens instantly on the client side, inside the user's browser, and not on the server. So here, if we take this UI policy as an example, so this runs on incident table. You can specify the short description and set the condition based upon your business requirement. Like here, for example, these UI policies run and make the additional comments mandatory when the on hold reason is awaiting caller. So if we go to incident table and open any existing incident, for example, and you can see the on hold state, and when the state is on hold and the on hold reason is awaiting caller, you can see the comments is becoming mandatory. So if we do any other thing, there is no comments, but if we once we put it to awaiting caller, you can see the comments is visible and it is mandatory. So how this is happening? So here, this UI policy particularly covers the on hold reason is awaiting caller and the state is on hold. We can specify any conditions based on the requirement, and once you click on save, you will see the UI policy action, and once you click on new, right, for example, you can see the field name, like which field you want to make it mandatory, and once you save it, it will show as a related list in your UI policy. So here we are making the comments mandatory in this UI policy. Let's do a deep dive and understand what are all the above checkboxes which is present. So when you keep the global checkbox selected, that means your UI policy applies to every view. But if you uncheck it, which I have done just before, you can target specific views like the mobile view, finance view, manager view, whatever your requirement views you have set it. This is extremely useful when you want different screens for different personas, the UI policies to apply to. Another point, as UI policies run only when the form loads or when a field value changes that affects the condition, since they run on the browser, they do not trigger during background scripts, they do not work in automated updates, and they don't enforce rules during list edits. So remember, UI policy is equal to form only real-time behavior. And now let's see where most of the developers often confuse, or sometimes they get confused, is the reverse if false. So if you select the reverse if false, ServiceNow automatically undoes whatever your UI policy action did when the condition becomes false. Like for any other conditions, it reverses it. So if you forget to enable it, multiple UI policies may fight with each other. They will run in unpredictable order. Conditions may not undo previous changes. Mandatory fields may remain stuck, or you will see some weird behaviors due to the runtime and unpredictable order if they collide. So always double check this when designing UI behavior, that this reverse if false is checked. The same happens when there are multiple UI policies on the same condition, so which I'll be explaining in a bit. But before that, the real workhorses where the UI policy is the UI policy action. Inside a UI policy, you can set any conditions, like for example, priority is one critical, then make short description fields mandatory, impact visible, make assignment group editable. So these actions mentioned over here follow the main conditions. Another point is, once a UI policy is active, even existing records will obey it as long as the form is opened. So if you made short description mandatory today, users will not be able to save old records without filling it. It will be valid for the historical existing records as well. UI policies work in core UI, workspaces, next experience UI, service portal, catalog. But workspace has a rule that UI policy scripts only run. What I mean by that is, you have a script condition over here and the run scripts. You can specify the UI type. So if it is desktop you want to run, mobile service you want to run, or all you want to run, you can specify the UI type and execute if true. When the condition executed true, what conditions you want to execute, and when condition executed false, what you want to execute. But most of the time it's important to notice that we should use this judiciously, very carefully, because we need to use UI policies only for the configuration purpose most of the time. But if there is some advanced logic, we need to choose client scripts, which we'll be talking in our upcoming sessions. But here there's one point: for the workspace UI policies to work, the UI type should be selected to all. If it's only desktop, your workspace won't execute the script. That is the reason this executive true and executive false must be used pairingly. If you need any heavy logic, go for client scripts instead. Conflicting UI policies. It's very common to have two UI policies trying to control the same field. For example, two policies making short descriptions mandatory. ServiceNow then tries to decide which one wins during runtime, and the result is not predictable. Like I said, you may see messages in the console, the field is already controlled by another UI policy when you try to use that. So let's quickly show that warning message as well. So for example, if I apply this UI policy on incident, make state in work in progress, for example, like if state is in work in progress, we'll try to set any UI policy actions. Click on new. Let's take short description, for example. Let's try to make it mandatory true and try to save it. So you can see, once you try to save it, there's a warning message. There are multiple UI policies with the same order for this field. The run order is not predictable, meaning there's another UI policy which is running in the same order for the same field. That means they're conflicting and their run order is unpredictable. So in that particular case, if you still want to see like how it behaves, how it works, you can try debugging the UI policy by debug UI policies. Once you click on this, your debugging will start, and you can go to your console For example, in the incident, console, you can try to run the UI policy. For example, state is in progress or something. You'll find that what all UI policies being executed. Like you can see under glide field policies, you can see which UI policy when state is on hold. The on hold reason is feasible and mandatory. UI policy is sys policy. So there are many policies which is running when state is on hold, when state is in progress. So you can see by debugging it, like which UI policy executed first, which policy is overriding other, what is order of execution, any conflicts. So this is one of the troubleshooting step to find the UI anomalies. And even you need to make sure the UI policies or visual restrictions, the real data enforcement still needs business rules or validation scripts. Like UI policies can be bypassed, as we discussed. API updates ignore UI policies, background scripts ignore UI policies. So use UI policies for user experience, not for business enforcements. Choosing between UI policies and other methods, so always choose the simplest option. If you want the field to look different, UI policies. If you want real validation, heavy validation, client scripts or business rules, which we will be talking in our upcoming episodes. If multiple fields depends on one value, UI policies. If there are heavy calculations, go for client scripts. Make sure even for some date time calculations or some other calculations, for example, you can make use of UI policies. Like if you want to have any date time validation of if the due date is after this week, for example, you want to make this mandatory, you want to make read only, you want to show or hide, you can absolutely go and try to explore the conditions where we can do the maximum operation using configuration and go less with scripting. Because if we can do configuration wise, that is the best recommended way, out of the box way, what ServiceNow recommends. And with this being said, that's the wrap up for the episode 2, the complete UI policies from the basic to deep dive. In the next episode, we'll continue unlocking more hidden corners of ServiceNow platform. First, we'll cover the core UI and then the UI builder part, which I'm very excited about. So if you learned something new today, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share this with someone in your ServiceNow journey. See you.